Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
So I don't know what's happening. It keeps playing. Wow, that was a long time. Can you hear me, Prof?
I think I'm hearing you.
But it comes back on. I don't know what's happening, Prof. It just keeps playing.
Well, then cut it off and do a reboot.
I don't know how to cut it off because it's off. It's showing that it's off.
I'm talking about the system. Maybe the system needs to
It's
be
showing that it's off.
saying maybe the system needs to be rebooted.
Maybe it wouldn't come on anymore. Maybe it stopped now. So, Prof, are you here?
I think I'm waiting for you. If we are not going to have it, then let's cut it off.
No, the song has stopped. So let's talk now. Okay. So I want to say welcome to those of you who are watching. We're sorry for the snafu. It seemed as if the internet on my side, the focus on Liberia, and everything in between, they're all tired. Today's Friday, so that you will see some little uh, 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 double take on my part because my internet is acting up. But I will turn it over to Prof. Hi, Prof.
Hi, Jackie. How you
I'm
doing?
sorry. I'm sorry. I know things, yeah, but I'll turn it over to you so you can start us off with just a little bit of recap of last week for those who weren't here, and then we can start talking about this week's topic.
So what we have been doing, even though we have celebrated the National Day itself, we thought to do a recap of a few things that led to uh, July 26, 2023, going back all the way to 176 years of our national existence. It is often important when an important day is coming to do certain things in remembrance of that moment. In our case, in remembrance of the activities, the flurry of activities that led to the important day we will then be celebrating. We started last Friday by beginning to look at the 6 or 7 consequential moments that eventually led to the independence in July 26, 1847. We know that brothers and sisters who had come from the United States of America began their inroad into the Green Coast from really 1816, 17, 18, 19, 20, when the group especially 1822, 21, 22, when they started moving towards the Green Coast from Shebrew Island, Sierra Leone, you know. So then the group settled along the coast, Green Coast, and trying as much as possible to find footing, find a piece of land they will kind of call their own, aided by uh, the American Colonization Society. The history out there is a little messy. Some claim that the land had been purchased. Some claim that it was much of arm twisting and all that kind of thing. And so it became a cocktail of machinations that led to that land. And when a few colonies decided to begin the process, they established a commonwealth with the help of the American Colonization Society. So the last 6 or 7 things that happened that led to the Declaration of Independence began with what we call the Basakov drama.
Yeah.
A British agent called Drink, Dring, instead of drink. I don't know what that means. Anyway,
That was the
so
man's name.
yes, so he bought uh, goods worth $300.
Yes, 300.
And how they did it was that they bought that huge load of goods at the time, and they simply gave little gifts to the indigenous people around there, and that was it. But then
He called it customary gifts.
yeah, customary gift. And then, well, so this day, that's what the captain tried to do to get the amount of goods and just customary gift, whatever that means. And to their shock, uh, the Commonwealth authorities decided, look, you haven't heard it, you should be paying levies.
Yeah.
You should be paying levies. And the guy said, what? Levies? I think you are talking is Greek. You don't know anything about that. Say, well, okay, if you are not going to pay a custom, you are not going to take your goods. And then the row began. And well, uh, true to the word of the Commonwealth Authority, the goods were not released. And this guy, just imagine, this guy was irate, was annoyed. How dare you? It's as if saying, "Do you know who we are? We are. Do you know we are what? We are agents of the British government." You know, I had to put all the fear and everything drama into it. The goods were not released, and the goods eventually were auctioned. So they pulled back. The British people pulled back, as if to say, "We are coming for you." And then they went to work. After some time, they caught an important ship, a schooner, owned by Stephen
Stevie
Allen
Iverson.
Benson. Benson later on will become the one of the presidents. I mean, well, yeah, one of the presidents of Liberia. Second. So they caught the schooner. The schooner's name. Normally, ships do have names, and the schooner was called John Says, and that matter dragged on because they took the ship all the way to Freetown, where they were often operating from. I just like to say that you remember during our Civil War, the Ecomos jet fighters were set at Freetown. It is from where they often uh, flown to go to Liberia and do bombing here and there. You remember Doodoo Bird? Some of you remember Doodoo Bird. Yeah, it will come. I said, but anyway, the key thing is that they took the ship to Freetown, and that's where much of the litigation went on. And it was at this heated time. In fact, $1,200. That's what they said. Stephen Stephen S. Benson had to pay. A. Benson, sorry, not Stephen S. Benson, but Stephen A. Benson had to pay. Stephen Benson said, "Look, that's nonsense. I'm not going to pay anything like that. You people are treating us unfairly, so I'm not going to pay that money." It dragged on for a time anyway, and there were some interventions. One of those interventions came from a Thomas Hodgkin. Hodgkin happened to have been a pathologist, a very well-known pathologist, and yet he was also a philanthropist.
And a Quaker. He was a Quaker also.
Yes, that's the thing about it. The Quakers were very much important in terms of eventually dismantling slavery. He was the son of a Quaker, and he actually practiced many of the tenets of the Quakers. He wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to the foreign ministry, the British foreign ministry office. Said this thing you people are doing is not fair to the group of people down the coast. And then he turned to the Commonwealth and said, well, you people should know better. These people are saying that unless you show yourself as being independent of the ACS, they will treat you like they don't know you. And that is where he used his famous Latin, which reads as, if there's no proof, there's no existence. If there's no proof, there's no existence, which meant that unless you prove that you are independent of these people, the thing here is there's no evidence that you are independent. And it was at that time that J.J. Roberts, the governor of the Commonwealth, whispered to his group of officers that, well, look, some time ago I heard one of the British agents said to me, he said, I shouldn't quote him, but he said to me that this thing you're doing, you're wasting your time. The best thing to do is to declare independence. And if you declare independence, then these world powers will not take you for granted. It was from that, low-speed discussion that the Commonwealth legislators went into session, and 4 members were what? 4 members, a team of 4, committee of 4, was set up to draft a petition to the board of directors of the ACS.
Okay, so that's for those of you.
That's where we left off.
Yeah.
Take it off from that point.
So for those of you who are just joining us, we discussed this last week, and you can definitely go back and read. I'm sorry, my computer is jerking a little bit, but that's how things are. But I when Captain Drink appealed to the British commander, it was because he was like, I didn't know we had to pay tax duties. And of course, like Prof said, the entire argument was, who gave Liberia power or authority? They don't have sovereignty. So that's what we discussed last week. If you don't have sovereignty, you're not going to collect any tax duties. So the people, what do you call it, Prof? You're going upstairs with up steps. Yeah, you're going upstairs with up steps. So like Prof says, J.J. Roberts, who was governor at the time, he said, but we purchased this land. This land is ours. And the British people said, the British High Commissioner or whoever said, you are not getting this land because any laws you make is through the ACS. So you have no jurisdiction to tell us anything about or to seize any of our property. Not like the Prof explained, when they seized the ship or the boat of Stephen Allen Benson, they demanded 1,000 what, Prof, 500?
1,200.
200. He declined, but it did stay a while before he got it back. But so we're coming now to discuss all of these ramblings that were going on, like, oh, you should declare independence. What then? So that's where we ended last week, and Prof and I decided that it's true that we should have we could have done this before the 26th. I wasn't here, and Prof had other topics to discuss.
The same technology. That was the problem, actually.
Yeah. So now we're going to discuss that J.J. Roberts, with all the ramblings, and Thomas Hodgkins, who was our friend, and he was a pathologist, and the guy who had the Hodgkins, he the one who discovered, I guess, a disease that was named after him, Hodgkin's disease.
Yeah, he
right?
was the one.
Yeah. So he decided that, okay, you know what? It is time. As a friend of Liberia, I'm going to tell them that it is time for you to declare independence. But we coming back to the ACS. It was a very funny time at that time, Prof, because when we discussed last week, if you remember, the ACS had collected all their money, right? They had collected their money, and they were very happy. They said, we have money. We are not broke. People have died and left us money, so we can continue the colonization. Because if you remember, that's what they said. They said we can continue the great work we're doing with colonization. So at that point, they were not inclined to do anything. They were going to continue as it were, right? Because the colonization scheme, was the most important and useful of any which distinguishes this age. So the society now stands free and unembarrassed, ready to appropriate its entire resources and devote all its energies to advance the legitimate work of colonization. So Prof, if Bassa Cove hadn't happened, these people were ready to continue.
And that's why the Bassa Cove incident must be seen as a very pivotal moment in terms of driving us towards the point of independence.
Yes. So then, although they were saying that they were going to continue with colonization, we see newspapers that we showed last week, newspapers saying, but I think it's time for Liberia. Liberia is exhibiting all of the things that it should exhibit.
Political maturity, and therefore
political maturity. The newspaper, it says Liberia is firmly planted and is destined to increase and prosper. The luminary say it has demonstrated that the color race, in common with other races of the same creators forming hand, possesses the faculty of self-government. So everything was, how do you call it? It was aligning for Liberia to declare its independence, or for Liberia now to say, but we're ready, right, Prof?
And the thing about it, this is, again, in studying the Liberian story, one needs to study the power of the media.
Yes.
The power of the media.
Yes.
We also talk about the power of collaboration. We talk about the driving force that came from blacks. We also must talk about the driving force that came from well-meaning white people.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
White people, in terms of collaborating with people who wanted to kind of carve their own destiny.
Yes. So Thomas Hodgkins can be considered one of those. Thomas
Yes,
Hodgkins
he
was
must be
saying,
celebrated. He must
yes,
be
he must be
celebrated
celebrated
widely.
because I think that he said that it is only clear that the only remedy for the evils of the present controversies with the British
Yeah.
is to secure,
Mhm,
right,
mhm.
on the part of the government of Liberia, the rights and privileges as a free and independent sovereignty.
And again, another thing we said that he was a Quaker.
He was a Quaker, yes.
There has to be a moment in people's lives to dig into the well of values,
Yes.
to dig into the well of values. Here, his parents were Quakers, and he could have chosen another path, but he followed the same path of those people who respect humanity,
Yes.
who respect human decency and what have you. And that is the thing that came through what he was doing for African and Africans. He didn't only do it in Liberia or along the Green Coast. All the way, if you read about Thomas Hodgkin, you are going to find out that he also took that torch. He took it to East Africa. That man called
Yes.
Thomas, Doctor Thomas Hodgkin.
Yeah. So now we see that uh JJ Roberts and the others, they have decided that, you know what, we're going now to get together to say we're going to approach the ACS. And there's a quote that I put on the poster, and I want to read it. It is a quote. It has always been the intention of the friends of colonization, I didn't know that, to place in the hands of the citizens of Liberia the entire responsibility of their own government at such time as it seemed prudent to do so, or when circumstances demanded it. In the opinion of the majority of the citizens of Liberia, the time has come now. So in February 1846, during the last Commonwealth session of the legislature, JJ Roberts says, okay, you know what? Let's do this resolution, adopt it, and go and approach the ACS, and then see what we can do. And I think, Prof, that was a real pivotal moment. You know that yes, this fledgling community, very very young, and they're saying, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time. I think this is something that we should do. Yeah.
Now, now, there are a number of things that often drive the will and power of a people. Economics often tends to be in the center of it all.
That's true.
It is the economic force that was much of the head, the spearhead towards this decision, because otherwise, people were lazing around and what have you. But when it came to a point of being disrespected, that we could not put a protocol in place to gather taxes or gather revenue and what have you, something had to be done. And this is what we see happening in the case of uh, the last mile towards independence.
So of course now the group got together to
Mhm.
do the resolution for ACS. And Prof, I was laughing last night when we were talking because you said at first they had to do sweet talk.
Yes,
So yes,
yes,
the sweet talk. I'm so
yes,
sad that my computer is acting up. But yes, the sweet talk, Prof. So you can
yes,
you can read the
yes.
sweet talk and and,
When
and, and find
yes,
out. Yeah.
yeah, that was the four-member board.
Yes.
I mean, the four-member committee put together to draft the what the appeal to the board.
Yeah. And so this letter went out January 15, 1845. So you read your sweet talk.
Yes. When we recollect how much we owe to you as our best benefit, can you just best benefactors? Even without the best, it would have been okay. But they said best benefactors. How you have fostered and defended us. What sacrifices of time and labor and money you have cheerfully made for us. How you have, with more than paternal solicitude, watched over our interests. We cannot easily conceive of anything which would be more painful to our feelings than the knowledge of a, suspicion entertained by you, from whom we have received so much, and to whom we owe a debt of gratitude we can never cancel. That we entertain for you any sentiments but those of profound respect and unshaken confidences of a grateful heart in our tried benefactor, which emboldened our communication.
End of quote. So
So
what part making you vex, Prof? What part making you vex?
it's more of an ingratiation now. Yes, all the you can see the adjectives they are adding, the adverb they are adding, and what have you. Benefactor is enough, and then paternal solicitude, and all these things cheerfully made for us, and all these things. Yes. So I guess I can just imagine them saying, let's put any kind of sweet talk you can imagine. Let's just pack it in this thing here and give it to them. If we give it to them, nobody will easily say we don't mean well. And that is the thing they set out for their board. So then we'll see what happens next.
But okay, but Prof, you know very well when somebody wants something, they have to first of all say something nice to the person.
Sweet talk, yeah, sweet talk. That's
So
in
that
fact that's
yeah,
business
that's a sweet
communication
talk.
right out there. You want to bring in the hard part, but you have to soften it. By the time that person goes through the soft part, then of course you can land that blow.
Okay, so they wrote the ACS.
Mm. The board. They wrote the ACS board, uh, telling them that they recognized how good they had been. The members had been good to the Commonwealth, and so they were pleading. Our people in our Commonwealth were pleading with the board that they should not entertain any suspicion of any ill will towards the people. So then, as you see later, the board got the request. Normally, this is part of corporate law. Uh, when the what you call the if they've got the request now, and they will have to deliberate. The board has to deliberate, and after deliberation, they will have to give their findings and all that kind of a thing.
Okay, so it seems as if I guess it's working now. So I wouldn't play with it anymore. But when it kicked me out, it kicked out the PowerPoint. So now
Okay.
I have to read the PowerPoint in
Okay.
some cases.
Mhm.
Okay, so of course now they have to sweet talk the guy. So the people, so they sweet talk them.
Mhm.
And the second part of the letter, and please, I guess people need to listen carefully because we don't have it up on the board anymore. And the beginning quote: "The subject we have been charged to bring before you is the claims which British traders have set up to points of coast included in our purchase territory." Now, in
Yeah,
our
yes,
purchase,
yes, yes.
while these claims were urged by individual British traders, we were not disposed to attach some importance to them. which is very important because they're saying that, look, if 1 or 2 British traders say, oh, we will not pay, that was fine, but by a political metamorphosis, I like that quote.
Yeah.
But by a political metamorphosis, the nature of the dispute is sought to be entirely altered. The British government has taken the place of these individuals.
Yeah.
And having thus changed the character of one of the claimants, he proceeds to deny us the right to exercise authority in any degree affecting the interests of British traders by declaring we have no sovereign and independent authority. We confess that this determination on the part of the British people has caused us great disquietude and alarm, seeing that the argument carried out to its consequences would deprive us of the right of even self-defense in any and every part of this our last asylum. And that's interesting, Prof.
Mm-hmm. They are now beginning to, after the sweet talk, now they are now beginning to lay the foundation.
Yes.
The specific foundation of what the appeal is all about.
Yes. Because there's
Go ahead.
No, because they're saying that, really 1 or 2 British traders would be fine. But the British government has taken over.
Mm-hmm.
And if we let this continue, we will deprive of the right of self-defense. And even in any and every part of our territory. So there's trouble brewing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just a one-time thing. This thing will have a logical conclusion, which means that we will lose our territory. Yes.
So we can see again, we're talking about corporate law. You have the board, you have the board, then you have the officers, and then you have the shareholders.
Yes.
So the Commonwealth administrators are in the position of the corporate officers.
Yes.
Now they are speaking for the shareholders.
Yes.
To the board.
Yes.
To take an action that could, if not taken, destroy or decimate the people over there. And there has to be something done. The board legitimately have to take action to deal with the problem.
So the appeal, and I'm quoting now, we need not say how anxiously we shall wait your action upon this subject. We conceive it by far to be the most momentous question we have ever called upon to deliberate. It is signed Hilary Teach, J.B. Grippon, H.P. Davis, and Louis Sipples. Those were the ones that Liberia got. Yeah.
Those comprise the legislative committee.
Yes.
Had been set up through the instrumentality of Governor Roberts.
Yes. Yes. So now they are saying, okay, we're leaving there with you. So we leave. Yes. So they are waiting now for the board to decide what to do if they're going to say to them, oh yes, you can get independence.
And if you bring in an element of narratives, in every narrative you have basically 6 or 7 elements, and one of the key elements is climax.
Yes.
People think about climax and they think that's the end. No, climax is the highest point of interest.
Yeah.
Beyond which you are wondering what happens next. So this request has gone in now, and you holding my hand, I'm holding my hand, and it's like what? We are holding our breath. Is
Yeah.
something big, important going to happen, or it's going to fail? That's it. So then,
I'll, I will get off the camera so I can close the window because the sun is bothering me.
okay, all right. So again, as I was saying, uh, in those of you who have ever done fiction or what have you, we talk about 6 or 7 elements of fiction, and you talk about characters, you talk about conflict and all that kind of a thing. Now you get to the point which is climax. This thing is happening. What is going to happen next? That which may be suspenseful is the point of our climax. That's where we that's where Liberia was at the time.
I found it very interesting that they took the petition or the appeal that was given to them, the board, the ACS board, and then they had their own meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they were discussing also was to change their constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about like you say, everything is about money. They even talk about how much they collected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, remember yes, last week we were discussing the fact that they were very happy that they didn't owe anybody anything anymore. That the ACS, for once, it was in the black because people had a lady had died and had given them 1,200, I think, or 12,000, and another person had left them money, so they had money. You know, so now they were to consider, and they waited until after the accounting and everything. If you look at the report, and then they came to say, okay, they said and then they said I'm quoting, the committee carefully and patiently examined the correspondence between the executive officers
Mm-hmm.
of this Commonwealth
Yes.
and the British naval officers on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. I'm still reading the petition.
Yeah.
The committee carefully and patiently examined the correspondence between the executive officers of this Commonwealth
Mm-hmm.
and the British naval officers on this coast
Mm-hmm.
on the vexed subject of our territorial limits
Mm-hmm.
and political authority,
Yeah.
the territory claimed by us,
Mm-hmm.
and regarding in question in which our very existence is involved,
Yeah.
are of the opinion
Mm-hmm.
that as speedily as circumstances will admit,
Mm-hmm.
measures should be taken to have the question definitely and finally settled.
Yeah.
We don't want no wishy-washy.
No, but the thing about it is, again, it's an interesting metamorphosis, as they pointed out. It's
Yeah.
an interesting metamorphosis. Uh, the ACS was established as a corporation.
Yes.
That was one legal body. Now, that legal body is about, because they were beginning to see the signs. They were
Yes.
beginning to, from the deliberations, all they were beginning to see the signs. Now, they were seeing that it was time of moving from one body, legal body, to another. One legal body which was relatively temporary to another which would become permanent. And therefore, they understood that certain structures had to be put in place,
Yes.
including making sure that uh, the first constitutional body or legal body was completely dissolved, making sure that the finances and all those things were put in the right place, and there was an accounting, a documentation for that
Yes.
dissolution before they will move on to a whole country that will be sovereign, meaning having what? Power over the people, power over the land, power over the sea, and power over the air. That is
Yes.
what sovereignty is all about. And that will not be taken lightly. That is what they were into.
And they took their time because if
Yes,
you look at the annual report, I
yes,
mean, they listed how much money they got from this place, how much
yes,
money they got from this place. It
yes,
was meticulous. The
yes.
account. Yeah. So they continue. They are still appealing to the ACS,
Yes.
and I'm quoting again.
Yes.
Whereas the same process of reasoning
Yes.
would not only wrest from our hands political jurisdiction
Yes.
over every part of our purchase,
Yes.
it will also extinguish our claim to territory. Listen to this phrase:
Yes.
our claim to territory honorably purchased
Yes.
and paid for.
Uh-huh.
Seeing we have no right to hold what we have no right to purchase.
Yes.
End of quote. Whereas we cannot long continue to exist without not only territorial but absolute political jurisdiction
Yes.
over a certain extent of country.
Yes.
Whereas we have a common interest with the great family of a common parent, certain rights which cannot be impaired but by conventional agreement.
Yes.
So we resolved that the present crisis imperatively demands that we at once betake ourselves to that position where we may urge those claims which appeal to the sympathy of the world.
To the sympathy of the world.
The world.
That's international law they are getting into now.
Okay.
Yes.
That's it. So now, this is the ending. I'm quoting again. We resolve, therefore, that a committee of 4 members of this body, so he's reading what they have, be associated with His Excellency to present the views of this House to the American Colonization Society on this subject and solicit their cooperation in accomplishing this important object. So that's it there, Prof. They're done.
Yes. You know, and this is with all things said and done, this is where there was something meticulous.
Yes.
There was something diligent about the transition. Transition, moving from a corporate entity, okay, a temporary corporate entity to a sustainable entity. That's what they're talking about. That will bring in international what? In an international law. That is what they were moving into there.
It's almost like Liberia was a commodity.
And
shareholders were there to vote on whether or not it could leave the fold. It could become, on its own. It could go and do its own thing.
Yes,
that's how it was because and the people in Liberia acknowledged that arrangement as well.
Yes,
because they didn't just say, "Oh, we're going to make a coup" or anything. They said we have to present a petition to the parent company. Put it that way, the parent company, which is the ACS.
Yes.
And the ACS now they have to discuss and then move along.
Yes.
So after they had done that, in the annual report, it says a proposition, I'm quoting, a proposition has been duly submitted to the various state societies by the Massachusetts Society. As to alter the constitution of the American Colonization Society, as to enable the board of directors to change in some important respect the relations which Liberia now sustains to the society. And to transfer the entire responsibility of their own government to the citizens thereof. The preceding statements of facts will be sufficient to bring the case fairly and fully before the board of directors and the friends of the cause in this country. So it's an agenda item.
The protocols were all mapped out.
Yes. I mean, what would have been, really beautiful to have a play, where people read these things. Yes, it will be a beautiful. So yeah, so then he says so now I'm reading again the ACS. They're saying now resolved that in the opinion of this board, because it's a board that received the thing, in the opinion of this board, the time has arrived. That's the thing I put, when it is expedient for the people of the Commonwealth of Liberia to take into their own hands the whole work of self-government, including the management of all their foreign relations, and that this society should cease to exercise any part of the same. Such beautiful words, Prof.
Yeah.
Shall cease to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Shall cease to exercise.
Yes.
So I'll finish it. Resolve that we recommend to them as to amend their constitution as is necessary for the accomplishment of this goal.
It is the board now acting upon the request that they have received. And it's like, they are handing down their decision regarding their response to the request that they had received.
Yes. Resolves, I'm reading again, resolve that we recommend to them to publish to the world of their true character as a sovereign and independent state.
Amen.
End of quote.
Yeah. So it's like they are giving instruction now. Well, yeah, we send this thing. We want to let you know that your beautiful letter has been well received, and yes, your sweet talk really made its mark, and we agree.
We agree.
These are the steps you need to take now. One of which is proclaiming to the world, your Declaration of Independence and what have you.
And resolved, I'm quoting again, resolved that the executive committee be entrusted with full powers to carry the foregoing resolutions into effect in a manner satisfactory, if possible, to the citizens of said Commonwealth, and as best calculated to preserve, listen, Prof, calculated to preserve harmonious relations between the society and said citizens.
You will not leave us out. You will not say because we give you the latitude now, you must forget about us.
Yes.
It's like saying you are being graduated, but don't forget the parents parents make you who you are today, or don't forget your spouses, they make you who you are today. Don't say because you are educated now, you will keep the people to the curb. Very powerful.
The report was accepted and the preamble and resolutions were adopted.
Amen. Amen. Now, the big socio-political thing that often comes about with all these things that were going on, why they didn't include the indigenous people, and where were the indigenous people and what have you? No, for practical purposes and what have you, we all know that when the indigenous groups were landing episodically, one at a time, and what have you, we remain in our cultural nations. I call them cultural nations. We remain in our silos and what have you. Now, this group that landed in our midst probably had, let us think about that as having the needle, and eventually this movement will lead to several moments in which the needle was used to what? The needle was used to stitch in every other cultural nation until we all came together and became the Republic of Liberia that we are today. I always think about another image, which is if we were somewhere and some group came and decided to have an organization, it would take some time before other people joined the organization. That is the thing that happened in the case of Liberia, where after this one group came and through whatever means, carved out a piece of land. That enclave eventually began to metastasize, and in metastasizing, it brought in the rest of the other groups, which, as I said, called cultural nations. And with that, the set of silos of cultural nations, we became amalgamated, and today we have become the Republic of Liberia.
I'm telling you, Prof, history really, really interests me. You know, I mean, I feel sad when people don't want to know about the history, and they also, oh, Liberia got independence. But this is the pathway.
Yes.
You know, this is the pathway. This is what happened behind the scenes
Yes.
to
Yes.
declare. You know,
Yes.
people had to agree.
Yes.
We were a part of a society that had to
Yeah.
agree to let us go.
Yes.
You know, this is the reasoning that
Yes.
we put forth to
Yes.
let us go. And even in that, there were people who did not come to the board meeting,
Yes.
but they wrote. Now,
Yes.
listen to this one from January 1846 from Buffalo.
Yes.
And this is from Mr. Wilkinson. He says here, Dear Reverend McLean, dear sir, I hope the directors will he said nothing but my inability to
Yes.
travel
Mm-hmm.
prevents my attending your annual meeting.
Yes.
I hope the directors will come to the conclusion
Mm-hmm.
that the time has arrived when
Okay.
Liberia must assume her independence.
Yes.
On some accounts, it will be better that the present relations should continue, like you say.
Yeah.
But I have no fear of the ultimate
Yes.
success of the colony if they
Yes.
are left to manage their own political affairs.
Yes.
The ACS will still exist, and
Yes.
I hope with increased power and efficiency,
Yes.
and will continue to exert as great an influence on the colony. Look at this man. Should it become independent,
Yes.
right? So this guy, he wasn't there, but he's giving his 2 cents.
Endorsement. Yes. He's endorsing that.
Yeah,
He's endorsing it very well. The thing about it is that at some point they had to recognize the fact. The question was, why did these people emigrate to
yeah,
Africa? Why did they emigrate? Wasn't that to one day ensure that they will stand on their own? And if the time has come for them to stand on their own, who should dare get in the way of that progress? Who should dare get in the way of that progress?
yeah. And then there's another guy who writes, Mr. Perry. He says, I have no doubt the sincerity of England in her exclusive pretensions of sympathy for the condition of the black man, and especially in her efforts to suppress the slave trade. Now, if you remember, when they grabbed Stephen Allen Benson's boat,
Yes.
they said that the boat was taking part in the slave trade, remember?
That's what they said.
And when they couldn't find any evidence, the captain killed himself, you know? But now this guy, he's saying that, oh no, I believe, even though they're going to have independence, I still believe that they were taking part in the slave trade.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's just fooling themselves. That's what it was.
yeah. So it's very interesting that 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 Liberia had to go and plead their case. Liberia just didn't declare independence; they had to plead their case,
Yes.
which was very interesting.
Follow the protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah, the protocol of civility. To follow the protocol of civility.
Now this guy also, there's another guy, Eddie. So what happened is that when they send this thing out, when they received a letter from Liberia or the petition, and they sent it out to every other board members, the shareholders, people wrote in. People who were not there, they wrote in. And one of the persons that wrote said, he says, I think the guy was saying that Liberia should quick tell England. Yes, he say Liberia should hurriedly tell England so England can know that they are independent, which was funny because England was the first to recognize Liberia.
And again, what we are doing here establishes the importance of context in
Yes.
history. The
Yes.
importance of context in history. History is about who does what, where, when, and why.
Yes.
These are important questions to history. And in the context of, we always talk about, just imagine, America didn't come first. It was Great Britain that recognized Liberia first of all. You can understand the context.
Yes.
There had been this tension and what have you. And all these people wanted at the point was make sure that you can stand on your own.
Yeah.
And if you can stand on your own, whatever it may be, grudgingly respecting you or whatever you, but at least we will respect you. And so when the independence thing went out, the Declaration of Independence, whatever, they said, well, okay, now we accept that you are your own. You are not what? You are not standing on somebody's shoulder and what have you. So we can come out and respect you and say, yes, we acknowledge that you indeed are independent. It's like saying we are witnesses to what you have done today. That's what it was.
Yeah. And so the letter, how he say, I am then strongly, as long as they so I'm quoting this letter from somebody who didn't attend.
Yeah.
He said, as long as they remain without acknowledged independence, these capabilities can never be properly developed. I am then strongly in favor of an immediate and open declaration of the entire independence of the Liberian government.
Yes.
And of her rights to the exercise of all the privileges and the enjoyment of all the immunities of an independent sovereignty.
In fact, it's like re-echoing Thomas Hodgkin's letter. What if you don't have evidence? Nothing exists.
Yes.
There has to be proof to establish the existence of something, and that's what that letter is also.
And the guy continues. I'm quoting again. He said, having made this declaration, I would have immediate application made to the governments of England and France and of our own country to recognize the independence of the same. So important.
Those bullets.
I view this subject that, if necessary, I would dispatch to England and France a special messenger to secure and to secure the end contemplated. So he said, not only are you going to declare, send somebody to England.
Let the word go forth. That's what. Let the word go forth. Let the word go forth. That's right. And that's powerful. Again, that is the power of communication. If you want something in a corner, don't assume that people know about it. You must what? You must broadcast it.
Yeah, and as we know, interestingly enough, England was the first, and then France. And this guy is saying our own country, but as you know, it was not until 1863. I mean, 15 years later, before the United States recognized Liberia and Haiti.
Yes, there were other socio-political.
The Emancipation Proclamation wasn't until 1863.
Yes.
So they couldn't even recognize Liberia until But it's very interesting, Prof. I mean, like I said, I'm fascinated by history because I didn't know all this. Until we started researching, and we're writing a paper on this. You and I, we're going to write a paper on this. This is interesting stuff, Prof.
Yes, that's what it is. And again, I just hope as we wind down, I just hope that these snippets, these nuggets of Liberian history, will kind of entice people to want to make sure that they not only get the snippets of whatever it is, but they should do a well-deserved reading of contextual information. So that they will always know, for instance, when they talk about was Liberia really colonized, within the context of what fate set for these people. Yes, there there was a point of colonization and the need for them to break through came, and they broke through, following the protocols of civility, as opposed to, of course, if there was a point of being brutal, there would have been a, but as fate set it all out to be a call more for diplomacy than for war.
And you see, I mean, by its very name, American Colonization Society, you see it in its name,
Yes.
So the thing is that although they were not living there, they were a corporation outside of Liberia. Liberia had to petition them for
Yes.
independence.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh yeah, we're the first republic, which is good. I'm very happy when people say that. But you must also understand, like Prof says, the context that
Yes.
Liberia was part and parcel for the American Colonization Society, that
Yes.
these people had to
Yes.
petition to them to
But
say,
but let's keep in mind now that the first major amount came from the American government.
yes,
100,000.
yeah.
$100,000 was the big thing that was thrown in the coffers of the organization. You know?
And Prof, I have looked and looked. I've done the research. We found these things, but I can't find when the affirmative was sent back to Liberia,
Mhm.
the jubilation. What
Okay,
did they
well,
say?
mhm.
I would love to hear that. What did they say when that happened?
No, but the thing about it is that you will not see it in those, but you will see that, for instance, in the first what, the first what does George we are always give something to the nation, huh? The State of the Nation
Yes,
address
State of
that.
the Nation. Yeah,
Yes. The State of the Nation address that George, not George Washington, that Ramos delivered. The
yes.
first, the first, State of the Nation address that should
Okay,
give
well,
you
we're
an
gonna
idea.
take it to a logical conclusion, and then we're
Yes,
gonna do the State of the Union address for J.J. Roberts,
yes, very good.
declaring that. Yes.
Mhm. We'll do that, and you will see the joy, the joy that came out. Okay, yes, we'll talk about that.
The people say, you don't forget us. Oh.
You say what?
The people say, even though you got independence, you shouldn't forget us. Oh.
I know. Is it? It's like somebody saying, well, they when you pray to God to get rich and what have you, when you pray to God to have health and what have you, you don't rejoice until you forget about God who made it possible.
Yeah, there was another one that says, oh, we as long as we continue to get the money that we used to get.
Yes, So again, this some of the things we talk about. This is part of the reality of life.
Oh, Prof,
This, uh, uh,
you're talking about capitalism. Listen to this. So Dr. Reese now, right?
uh-huh,
Submitting the following preamble and
uh-huh,
resolution, he says, I'm quoting, whereas the board of directors are now about to adjourn, they feel called upon to express their devout gratitude to God
uh-huh.
for the encouraging tokens of his favor which have been significantly bestowed during the year just closed,
Yes,
both
yes,
upon the operations of the society at home and upon Liberia. So the guy said, thank God for the money
yes.
that have
And,
been.
yes, and again, the significance of gratitude, the
Yes,
significance of gratitude
yes,
also comes out of the ending days of the association. I mean, the organization. What is it? American Colonization Society. You know,
yes,
the idea. This is a parable. This is a parable of gratitude. Hmm? This is a parable of gratitude. The idea that, yes, you beneficiaries are going out, but do not forget the benefactor. And I can even take it down to there was a specific statement. They said there's been a chair at the executive mansion uh, when they're cooking or whatever you. The chair had on it what? Do not forget the children of the pioneers. Yes, never forget the children of the pioneers. They said that was a kind of oath that so many people from time immemorial, when the True Party was in force, never forget the, the children of the pioneers. Uh, and that is now was then extended to the point of never forget the ACS, never forget your benefactors and what have you. We can laugh about it, but these things, the whole idea of generational uh, preoccupation with the economic wherewithal of the settlers.
Yeah.
You know.
And they even, I mean, if you look at the annual report, when they are checking where they got money from, at the end they resolve that the benevolent individuals, I'm quoting again, that the benevolent individuals who have united in the $15,000 subscription to our funds during the last year for the purchase of territory.
Yeah.
You remember they said that there were some parts of Bassel Cove that they had purchased, but they wanted to purchase more from the crew. And they said they needed money, and they were saying, "Oh, let's get the money quickly and give it to them." But like we say, there's always this what we call it, this point that you come to. So that Captain Dring, although we don't like him, had he paid the duty that was levied against him, I think things would have gone on a little bit more.
Yeah, but the thing about
He
it is,
refusing to pay this, and then appealing to the British government, and then the British government saying to Liberia, "You are assuming powers that you do not have." That's what they said. They said, "Who gave you the authority? Because even your laws come from the ACS, so you do not have any authority for our people to pay custom duties to you." Had this guy not agreed, I mean, had this guy given the, I'm sure Liberia would be independent, but it may have taken a little bit more years.
the thing about it is, again, that's part of the beauty of history we are seeing here.
Yeah.
History is replete with with chains of what ifs.
Yes. What ifs?
What
Yeah,
if?
you're right. What if?
Or
Yeah.
had it not, and all that.
Yes.
Someone, I see people sending. You want to read what they have there now?
Oh, but watching, some people do not want to know the true history of Liberia. Knowing the history makes me proud to be a Liberian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. I said, when I hear people saying, yes, things are difficult, but oh, let America just come and take Liberia. Let this country. Do you know how hard these people fought?
Yes.
So, England taking their territory, France taking their territory, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the whoever, and these people are fighting. And these people didn't even have internet, no, nothing, and they still fought. And you, with everything that you have, you just want to give up easily. I don't think so. I agree with Boy. It makes you very proud to see how they discuss, how in an orderly manner they presented their petitions. Yeah, it makes me very proud.
It's good to, just to throw a little thing for the Independence Day orator. It's important to understand your legacy.
Yes, it's very important.
Yes, it's very. If you understand how you got a specific thing, it's going to be okay for you to appreciate that than to not know how you got that particular thing. There's a guy called Stephen Evans. He's written about a far uh, away Asiatic land called Bhutan. This guy has written about Bhutan a whole lot, and Bhutan comes into the picture when you're talking about uh, the culture of peace in every nation and what have you. He says something, the Evans man says something to the effect that it is only those who understand the set of stories of a place that can appreciate that place.
Yeah.
If you don't understand the stories that evolved you, in other words, that brought you into existence, you will not so easily appreciate uh, that place. If you don't even understand yourself, your self-esteem, self-actualization, all those things, you will not appreciate yourself. You will what? You will develop self-hatred, and self-hatred is a very bad disease to have. You've got to love yourself. To love yourself, you've got to understand yourself. That is the point.
And in this international institutions class that I was a part of, that's what we discussed, that development practitioners now that are going to places in the global south,
Yeah.
they used to just go and start these projects,
Yes.
and the projects would fail,
Mhm.
and then they would say, oh, the people not ready, or we don't know. But
Mhm.
now what they're doing, before going to the place, before starting the project, they are speaking with historians,
Yes.
practitioners, to
Yes.
say, okay, tell us about this place. Tell us the history of this place.
What
Tell
is
us
your
what
story?
makes this place special to
Yes.
you.
Tell
And
us
in
your
that way,
story.
it's informing
Mhm.
the
Their fears,
their
their dreams, their
presentations,
everything.
everything. Yeah,
All those things.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, I like this piece that we did. Yeah, I learned a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot, Prof. I'm
So,
always learning a lot, but today, yeah,
so
with
was
all
it?
the, the,
So,
the, the the limitations of the internet on
yeah.
my side, I enjoy the show today.
Well, that's again, it just as you talk about COVID today, you talk about Ebola and what have you. They are not going out. We wish they would go away, but they have become part and parcel of our lives now, and therefore we have to understand them and continue to be watchful. And that's the same thing about technology. Technology is part of us now, and yet we have to understand the inconveniences and all those things that have become part and parcel of the whole story of information technology.
Yeah, it will be interesting to find out if Liberia sent a special messenger to England and France, or if they just declared their independence.
No, but no. After they did that, when Rappers became president, uh, England was one of the first places he went,
Okay.
and the Queen gave him I think a gunboat or something of that nature. Yes, the Queen gave him a ship for the country to help what patrol the territorial waters of Liberia.
Okay. That was just a return of some of our money that they had taken, our
Well, I don't know about that.
resources that they had taken
so,
away.
so yes, history tells us that J.J. Roberts went on a whirlwind tour of the major countries that had been interacting with the Commonwealth, however, in a grudging way, made sure that it got to them to let them know that we are free. Yes, and they were saying, "When freedom rays are growing from on Mount Serrato Virgin."
We are free. Yeah. No, it was nice. I enjoyed it today, Prof.
The stars of liberty, the Lone Star forever, the Lone Star forever. Oh, long may it float over land and over sea, deserted, no never, holy forever. Time for the Lone Star banner. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes, there was joy those times. I
Yes,
think
of
people were
course,
so
of course.
happy.
The
They
first
were so
the
happy.
first
Yeah.
Independence Day celebration and the first Flag Day celebration. Those speeches, we need to probably read them here as we round up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Paulina, for staying with us. And the others who came in, you can watch the show if you came late. It's a very interesting show. Please share the show. I think people always say that. I always forget to say that. But share the show. Let people learn about what led up to the independence. And Prof and I, we're writing a paper on this. We're going to have that paper published. Prof is looking at me, but we're writing this paper.
I hope so.
Yes. Yes. So we want to say thank you to all of you for joining us. Prof, you have last words for us?
No, it's I guess the words have expressed themselves. It is a mighty level of happiness to understand the context of monumental events in human history and in national history. And that is why we always say it is very much important for you to ask questions. It is not what has been done, but also who has done it, why it has been done, and what's been the benefits of that. The benefits may not be huge, but at least they have a starting point that should inspire us so that we aspire to greater good. That is what these 2 weeks, deliberations have been. Liberia indeed became independent. They said there are so many ways to fight. Some fight with words, some fight with weapons, real concrete weapons. Liberians fought with words.
Yeah.
And they were able to acquire independence.
And I would demand money from every one of those gunboats when the ships are coming. I'm like, pay my money, pay for money. But
And we need. Let us take it from Thomas Hodgkin, for instance, the idea of finding a set of values, progressive values, that is, and making sense of the future of a country. Let us always pull together. Let us collaborate. Let us pay attention to acquiring that sort of education that is going to propel us forward. Let us always be our brothers and sisters' keepers. It is through that collaboration that Liberia can become a place of decency, a place of respectability.
Yeah, and I think that the four people that were chosen embodied all of those values that you're talking about, because of course the group could have chosen anybody. I think they chose those four men because those four men embodied the values.
Yes,
they wanted. I mean, they needed good messengers.
Yes,
we sent that petition, and they got these four.
Yeah,
and I think that if we put country before self, because don't forget, the ACS could have said no.
Yes.
The ACS, as a white organization, could have sided with England.
Yes.
Could have sided with England, but they did not. But these men, I mean, they could have been seen as traitors. Oh, you want to leave us? You want to leave us now? After all what we've done for you. So they put themselves on the line also to send this to take this petition, to ask. Another thing they could have done could be that the ACS could have said, you know what? Now we've given you a little bit of responsibility. You think that you're independent, so now we're going to take the entire colony over.
Yes.
It's going to be a commonwealth. We're going to take it over, because don't forget, like you said, context matters. In the beginning last week, we saw that the ACS was congratulating themselves on being debt-free. They had gotten so much money now that they were even looking to expand colonization.
Yeah.
So they could have said, this time now we don't need your money. because we have enough money and we're going to expand this thing, you know. But they sat there and they listened.
Mutual respectability was there. Yeah.
Respectability, and that's what they said in the resolution to the shareholders. They said it was respectfully submitted, you know, and it was respectfully resolved when they said, I think it's time, you know, that this Commonwealth became a country, a sovereignty, as they put it, you know. So it could have gone either way. It could have gone either way.
Yeah.
But like we say, thank God, they decided that, okay, it was time. Liberia had exhibited political maturity, you know, and as Hodgkin say, all the elements, tribunals of justice, everything. Yeah, so
religion,
I think
and all those things.
And all those things, pinnacles of religion,
yes,
tribunals of justice. Yeah. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. Like we say, you know, you can listen to the show from the beginning. It was kind of jerky because of my internet, but the PowerPoint was there, so you can read it and learn that, you know, this thing when we say Declaration of Independence, it wasn't just one day. Everybody jumped on and said we're free. It was a tentative negotiation. You know, it was a feeling for the crumbs of encouragement that came from all over the world to let us declare our independence. So we thank you. We say we hope you have a nice weekend, a restful weekend. Be safe, and like we always say, we are the rooms. Liberia is the roof. No country is 100% bad, and no country is 100% good. So lift Liberia up. Lift Liberia up. When you see how far we've come, you will say, you know what, we will lift our country up. Despite the personal hardships, we know that some of you went through horrors of war. Surely there must be something that we can lift Liberia up. So we thank you for joining us. We say we are all Liberians. Don't ever forget that. The song reminds us of that. And Prof, stay well.
Yes, you all too.
Okay.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.